Hello and welcome to A Day with the Car Driver. We're up to the summer 2018 season. I'm Scamp.
I'm Day.
I have I know summer 2018 was barely a year ago. But one thing I do remember quite strongly about this season was it was the season with a lot of really dumb comedies.
I don't know that I'd call them dumb.
I think the one here on the
I feel like the only one that I would categorize as being genuinely stupid was Grand Blue Dreaming, which wasn't primarily a comedy anyway.
Grand Blue Dreaming was absolutely...
I guess it had to have been.
What else would you could describe Grand Blue Dreaming as? A romance?
A collegiate drama.
A sports show.
Yeah, a sports show.
How much sports do you think was there in Grand Blue Dreaming, the show that's about...
Diving.
Diving.
Not like high diving, like scuba diving.
Yes.
Look, they drink a lot more than they dive.
Yeah.
They drink a lot in this show.
The show is primarily, we're going to form a diving club. Yay! Let's all get blinding drunk and naked. Yay!
Yeah, it's about a college diving club, and there's your hapless lead who's like, I'm going to college in the town where my cousins live. Oh shit. I somehow screwed up and managed to make my cousin think that I'm a pervert and a weirdo. Uh-oh, I also have the hots for her.
Also, I am a pervert and a weirdo.
Yeah, he means... I'll give him this. I think he means well, which is not the same as...
I'm not sure I even agree with that, to be honest.
Well, he seems capable of being decent, whereas his unwanted buddy there, he has the friend
the otaku guy?
Yeah, the guy who he doesn't actually like. In fact, they don't like each other and they spend an awful lot of time arguing. He's not okay.
But he is okay in this show. All of the senpais.
The senpai are great.
All of them.
This is, one of them's bisexual too, so I was like, oh yeah, bisexual rep.
She's great.
Yeah, I love her. I can't say this is a good show though. This show's, visually it veers
terrible.
Between totally acceptable to astonishingly bad.
I'm not even sure I'd say acceptable. It's acceptable if it was 2003.
Yeah, but, it's fine during the diving scenes.
Oh, I think the
times when it gets really horrific are like, yes, we're trying to show a bed. For some reason, it's like 4 times the size of what it was when we went from this other angle on the bed.
It is a terribly animated show.
It's kind of trash on the whole.
Oh god, it is a complete trash show.
I can't recommend it. I enjoyed it thoroughly, but it's not like it was good. There were things about it that I think were good.
Yeah. But
it's definitely like a dumb college kids drink too much and get up to stupid shit type show.
There's good characters. The senpai are really good. Like all three of the two bro senpais.
Yeah, I love them.
And I also really like the blue-haired girl. Aina, she's great.
Yeah, I like her a lot.
Because she's part way to being a loser, but trying to get back into not being a loser.
Yeah, she's the closest we get to, because with the initial female cast that's introduced, there's definitely, it's one of those shows at least initially that it's like, boys are stupid. Girls are no fun, but they're not stupid.
Yeah.
Which isn't particularly great.
And she
the love interest, it's disappointing because she's not much fun as a character, but I also feel sorry for her because she's the character who can't be fun. You know what I mean? She's there to be like, oh, I can't believe you guys are so dumb. Get out of my way. Don't bother me. So she's a bit of a wet blanket. Not much fun to have around. Ina, though,
actually straddles the line between I'm going to try be responsible and I'm also just going to be a stupid idiot as well.
Yeah. Ina we learned very late in the show that Ina is one of the only characters who has a driver's license.
Yeah, she lived out in the countryside.
The rest of the cast is like, wait, you know how to drive? What?
It's like, yeah, I'm from the countryside. We have to learn how to drive.
And so it's that was a nice detail.
Yeah.
I can't in good faith recommend it, though. It's definitely got some sexism issues.
Then there's entire episodes you just kind of want to skip because it's all the incels together.
Oh god, there was that one episode mid-run that it was So the two younger guys who are college freshmen, the lead and the otaku loser, who's really just a pedo, like one of the guys from their group of friends ends up getting a girlfriend, and so they spend the entire episode trying to ruin his romance.
It tends to get laid, basically.
Well, also, because he does seem to be into the woman.
Yeah.
And they spend the whole time just trying to ruin the relationship. And that episode sucked.
Yeah.
It was just very mean-spirited. But
if you were going to recommend, like, I'm not sure dumb comedy is the way to go with this one, but Asobi Asobase, that was a show.
that would fall under, I think, weird comedy.
Yeah, it is. It's not the weirdest comedy of the decade, because, like, Pop Team Epic exists. But Pop Team Epic exists in kind of a different dimension. Like, there's nothing ever that's going to be like Pop Team Epic. But Asobi Asobe is definitely, within this dimension, possibly the weirdest comedy.
Yes, this is middle school girls being terrible a lot of the time. You know, it's the core cast, it's 3 girls who are in, like, 8th grade, maybe 9th grade. And they formed this club, and supposedly it's the, like, game club or the entertainment club, or however you want to render it. But it's really just about them being horrible little gremlin things that aren't very smart.
Yes.
There's a lot of just... It has a decent bit of, I wouldn't go so far as to call it gross out humor, but there's a fair bit of it is bodily based humor.
I would describe actually a lot of the imagery of the show as taking its cues from psychological horror. There's a certain degree of terror to some of the gags because as these, like, they play these games, and as they grow and expand and they get more serious, there's a certain level of whimpering and pain and horrible faces and stuff.
I mean, this is a show that has one gag in which someone gets farted on.
Oh gosh.
When they're hiding under the desk.
Oh god, that was scene. And just the scene where the butt's in her face, she's like, I can't, I have to, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because they're hiding, because they sneaked in somewhere they shouldn't have been, and then they're hiding under the desk, and they're all squashing because they very quickly cram themselves underneath. So he has someone's butt ends up in someone else's face. You know, like, maybe I can just let a little bit out, and no one will notice.
Yeah.
No, they noticed.
My favorite gag, I think, I keep coming back to, is the teacher sees the liquid coming out from under the door. He goes, oh god, what's this? Aha! And, like, Detective Conan appears next to him, and he goes, I know what to do. And he licks it and goes, it was just water. And the girls all look at him like, you just licked some random lick. What the hell is wrong with you?
Well, because there's an implication that... So this gag comes about because they, for some reason, put a wading pool into the classroom where their club meets, and they filled it up, and they're splashing in it.
Yeah.
And then it's gotten on the ground, and the teacher hears that he's out in the hallway, and he's going by, and he's like, what's going on in here? And they're like, no, don't come in. So there's an implication that he thinks it might be urine.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, this was... Not every gag worked, but this was frequently quite funny, and I also just appreciate the fact that all of the we never have any of the humor that's like, haha, teen girls are stupid. Quite. You know, yes, there are moments when it's like, you're being dumb, but it's not, none of that is tied specifically to, like, girls specifically are stupid.
Well, there was the BL episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's
the Harry Potter fanfiction.
Yes, but I do think it's not like there's a decent amount of comedy that has the person that it's at the expense of is like, teen girls are dumb. You know, they're just a bunch of stupid, slutty bitches.
Oh, okay.
Like that. Or like, you know, they're too stupid to be alive, they're hung up on stupid things, blah, 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 that kind of thing. And that's not something that comes up here. It's, you know, having said that, if you're uncomfortable with gross out humor, or if you're easily made uncomfortable with, well, because a bunch of the humor is discomforting.
Yeah.
And I should also point out there are a couple things that don't work at all.
Transphobic jokes.
Yeah, there's a character who it's difficult for me to understand what they were trying to do with this character. But there's one character who it's implied because I don't want to say they're trans because I don't think that's what the show's going for.
It's just a bloke who's in it.
Yes, there's a character who it's implied is a boy who's dressing as a girl to attend this girls' school. And there's definitely some of the attempts at humor around that are transphobic in nature.
Yeah.
Part of it is that it ends up being transphobic in nature because of the fact that it's not clear what they were trying to do with the character in the first place. There is a sense that the author might think that, oh, a trans girl is just a boy in a dress type stuff. So that's definitely not cool. That character doesn't get featured very often, but it's still there, and I wouldn't want someone to go into the show without knowing about it.
Yeah. Google image search some of just Asobase, just to see some of the faces, by the way. This show has the most deranged faces of... When I say deranged, I mean, like, I'm really emphasizing the psychological horror part here. It is a hell of a visual experience. Maybe search the ending song as well.
I think my favorite... Actually, I was thinking about my favorite gag was definitely where, for some reason, they built... Oh, okay. We didn't even talk about the funniest thing.
What?
So one of the girls, Olivia, she's of European descent. And she passes herself off as like, oh, I don't know Japanese, I am foreign. But she's not. Her parents are Europeans who moved to Japan, and she and her brother were raised in Japan. She does not know any other language than Japanese. But she's given herself this persona of like, oh, I am a foreigner.
Yeah, she could speak in like a broken accent sometimes.
Yeah, and... So late in the show, she ends up getting picked for, in English class, she's going to have to do this, like, speech in English. And she's like, oh shit, I don't know English, what do I do? And one of the characters is from a wealthy family, and one of the folks is like, oh, I know, we'll just build a robot and have it do it for you. But the robot, first of all, is built from a sex doll.
Yeah.
And second of all, it says things like, yeah, fuck you! And it's crude as hell.
Yeah.
That was funny.
I just remembered, like, the rich girl's butler. As a young kid, she was, let's play shogi. And the butler didn't want to admit he didn't know what shogi was. So instead he fired a laser from his butt because he could do that.
That's how he became the butler, because he was like...
He could never sit down on a toilet because every time he sat down, he just fired a laser from his butt and destroyed toilets.
And he ended up with this because wasn't he he was kidnapped by aliens and they put a laser in his butt.
Yes. It all starts with the episode them like, let's play shogi, because this is how every episode starts, is let's do this mild game, and it's like, yes, let's all fire lasers from our butt.
Anyway.
Like, I love this game, and then it's like, oh Jesus, this show is so stupid. It is amazing.
It's definitely... It has to be seen to be believed.
Yeah.
But there were a bunch of other comedies. Chio School Road. I don't think that was stupid either, though.
It definitely had
It had some stupid moments, but...
Yeah. It was a lighthearted comedy. It was... Okay, so you're a gamer, right?
No.
Capital G,
I fucking am not.
I mean, it's just a girl trying to get to school, and she mostly succeeds. But on her way, she gets sidetracked by things and then decides to take her cues from video games. So this is not necessarily like... Because I realised this as I was writing the post about this, was that I was describing it made it sound like, oh, it's just a bunch of video game references. It's like, no, it's more abstracted than that. Also,
too, if it's not so much references to specific games as it is allusions to... Well, broader genre or broader conventions of the medium that even people who don't game are aware of.
It's what you would do if you thought in like video game logic you would do. So it's like, I'm going to climb up over there and over here and then jump this thing and then vault over that guy's head, but I'm also a schoolgirl, so I don't really know how to do these things. And like one episode where she like starts like Spider-Man walking her way up these two pair of buildings, and then there's the guy who like opens the window to brush his teeth. It's like, oh, I always like to brush my teeth out of the window in the morning.
And I spit.
And he's
Yep. Also, too, remember she's like, she comes up with this,
bloody butterfly.
because she's trying to get past
A bunch of
a
bikers.
Yankee, as in a delinquent.
Yeah.
And she accidentally, like, knocks over their bike or something. There's this whole misunderstanding in which this one delinquent becomes convinced she's completely badass and just can't be stopped. And he's like, what's your name? And she's thinking, like, oh shit.
And she uses her gamer.
Bloody butterfly.
She uses her gamer tag.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the episode. I'm not sure you got to this episode, but like that guy ends up like he's a school dropout. He's like only like a year or two older than her, because she's in high school and he's like a dropout.
Yeah.
But he's working in a convenience store, and she's gone to the convenience store to like buy her latest gamer mag.
Yep.
And then she finds out they've discontinued her gamer mag to have some yaoi game mag. She's like, "This is literally the worst. How dare you destroy my noble game?" Ooh, this yaoi mag looks. They've got older men in here. What's this? And then she turns. It's like, this is a black man. This is really rare for Japan. Wow, I guess they do all sorts. Oh my word, he's oh. And then it's like the next page is like an old man, and it's like, are they even doing him? I need to buy this.
And he's at the till.
He's at the till, so she like, no, I can't have this like yaoi mag and buy it off him, but I must have this yaoi mag. So she like grabs chocolates and tries to place them on the guy's nipples on the front cover, but they just end up looking like this real kinky bra on him. And yes,
I did see that.
Yes, you did. I think I specifically showed you that.
If there was a thing I had an issue with, though, the original manga was by a porn author.
Yes, it was.
And it definitely shows at points.
It does. Less so for the girls themselves, like her and her friend.
No, it's not so much for them. It's just, like, any of the female characters over the age of 8, actually 16, really, have the most ridiculous boobs.
Oh, God.
Just doesn't make any sense.
You're absolutely right.
And there are moments where some of the angles on characters, it's like, I do know I stopped watching after they had that thing on the school roof or whatever it was with the older student. And it was like, oh, I know how to beat you. You're gay, so and gay people are incapable of focusing, so
yes. Again, following the trend from, unfortunately, Asobi Asobi Say, not an unproblematic comedy show, unfortunately.
Was there any other comedy?
I mean, there was High Score Girl, but I never watched that. Again, following the gamer trend. This thing gained a weird underground cult following. Have you noticed that?
It had one for a while.
Yeah, because the anime is this terribly animated CG thing.
Well, yes, wasn't this also the one that was originally
cancelled?
It was cancelled because there was, and I want to say it ended up being unfounded accusations of maybe not tracing, but some form of plagiarism.
Yeah.
But I'm reasonably sure that the author was exonerated.
It was also something to do with because there's maybe this is what people thought it was and it wasn't, but it's like, because the thing is, it was absolutely full of Street Fighter references that Capcom came down on the manga.
Oh, maybe.
Because this was originally announced for like 2012, 13.
Oh, a long time ago.
Yeah.
What else?
It's got a second season, so it's...
I mean, I guess Cells at Work has comedic moments.
True. This, and I think, might be one of the biggest shows of this season, because... Do you remember in Japan?
Well, I know it's done very well.
It was one of the only... it was this and Yu-Gi-Oh! Were the only shows I ever saw on mainstream...
Not true. There was also some other thing we saw that was, like...
Cartoon Network. A Cartoon Network show. I know.
No, I mean, yes, but no, something that was Japanese.
Oh.
It was like one of those shonen franchises aimed at the younger set. It was like Dragon Riders or something. I'd never heard of it before, and then I was trying to figure it out because we watched a little bit of it when we were in Japan.
But yeah.
That was it.
Cells at Work was then, meanwhile, airing on... I don't know if it was I don't quite know the channels well enough. But it wasn't a premium channel, otherwise we wouldn't have had it in our hotel internet, hotel TV.
You know, I'm I'm assuming it must have run on NHK.
Yeah, because it's an educational
But
show.
it's also worth pointing out that a lot of these shows run on multiple networks. That's why you have usually two versions of the etchier shit. There's the one that ran on a regular network and the one that ran on ATX.
It was actually weird to see, like, Cells at Work stuff. I guess explain Cells at Work. Cells at Work is, imagine, your red blood cells in your body. They're all, like, postmen and post ladies, and they go around delivering oxygen. And then there's white blood cells. They're like the police force, except murderers. So just like the real police. Okay, won't go there. And then extrapolate that idea further, and they fight germs and so on. But it's all done via like anime tropes.
This did very well.
Yeah, I saw ads for it, but not just like ads for like the anime itself, but government-sponsored ads featuring Cells at Work to say.
Well, I'm sure that I am pretty certain I've seen stuff about it being used in blood drives.
Exactly. Yes. This show was successful. This show was fun. I enjoyed this quite a lot. It's very imaginative and creative, and it's just, once you see a few episodes, I just want to see them do everything in the body. I think one of my favorite gags is one episode where they get a blood transfusion and all the new blood cells come in and they've all got a different accent. They've all got like really thick Kyoto accents. I got a kick out of that. The episode where they find a cancer cell is pretty like dark and turns into a Kira. There's the one with the allergies where everyone freaks out over creatures that aren't actually dangerous in the slightest.
I remember looking over your shoulder a few times and being like, whoa, this seems kind of traumatic.
Oh, yeah.
What? Okay. Huh.
Yes.
I didn't watch it.
And then there's the platelet, I don't know how you pronounce it.
Platelets? I actually
the
don't know
stuff,
how
the
to
stuff in
pronounce.
your blood cells that cover up scabs, basically.
Clotting agents.
Yes, and they are way, 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 way smaller than regular platelets. Way smaller than regular blood cells and white blood cells. So in the anime, they depicted them as kindergartners running around with buckets and spades to like cover up all the holes. They're basically, and they're the most adorable things, and you've probably seen pictures of them.
Yeah.
Show's great fun. I read a bit of not the manga to this one, but the weird dark spin-off manga.
Yeah.
That's set in like the body of a 40-year-old alcoholic tobacco smoker. There's one whole chapter devoted to them desperately trying to get the guy to have an erection. Because, hey, guess what? When you smoke and drink a lot, you can't get an erection anymore.
That's just science.
And there are blood cells, and they're all like, quick, everyone into the penis. Oh no, it's not working. We can do it, guys. Oh, it's like weird. It's weird dystopia. Anyway.
So something else that we saw plastered all over the freaking place in Japan when we were there that ran the season was Review Starlight.
Yes.
This did decently. I don't think it was a smash success, but it did decently enough that, well, I mean, there's a MOBA gay and there's spin-off manga and stuff like that, and we saw this advertised all over the place in places like subway stops, on billboards in different places.
I couldn't tell if it was successful or just being promoted heavily.
Well, I know that the mobile game is still going on, so someone's, thinking about what we saw promoted versus what was successful while we were there, I don't, because the other things I remember seeing advertisements for were that Gundam NT Twilight thing, Cells at Work. Oh god, I remember Playboy Bitch Club.
Oh god.
I saw promoted in one of the animates. Must have been the one in Ikebukuro, so...
And I also saw stuff for Bang Dream.
The other one I saw was Bloom Into You. I saw there was a huge, several stories tall.
That's the Yuri show.
Yes, there was a several stories long banner for it in Akiba on the side of a building. Those were the shows I mean, other than things there's Pokemon crap everywhere, but that's...
Yeah.
I mean, that's Pokemon. Basically what I'm driving at is I didn't see anything that I looked at and was like, wow, no one watched this. Yeah. So I feel comfortable saying that, yes, it was being pushed a lot, but it also seemed to have done well. Yeah.
You watched all this, didn't you?
Review Starlight should have been exactly my kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's definitely taking a lot of pages out of the Book of Utena. It is, that's probably the heaviest influence. Having said that, I also got Star Driver vibes, which makes sense when you consider that Star Driver itself was influenced by Utena.
Yeah.
And even things like Melody of Oblivion.
Okay.
Which I don't think exists without Utena as well. And it takes place in a school for performers in Tokyo. I think it's Tokyo. Actually, now I realize I'm not sure. No, it's definitely Tokyo, because Tokyo Tower plays a big role in it.
Oh, of course it does.
And this one girl who is the Genki girl and is the lead, and she's like, yeah, I want to be the best. And then this dark-haired girl shows up and she's like, wait a minute, I know you. You were my friend. What? And the other girl's like, I'm going to be cold to you and not tell you why. And every episode has a review in which two of the characters duel each other. Oh, Utena?
A review being what?
And not as, like the theatrical term. Reviewing something.
I haven't really mentioned this. This is very much based off of, and it indeed...
It's heavily inspired by Takarazuka
stage musicals, basically. Because they ran a whole bunch alongside this stage musicals.
Yeah.
And they did, these are the battle scenes in this are all...
Yeah, they're singing. Which, again, you get back to Utena, though.
Yeah.
But Utena itself, of course, is...
Utena's
very strongly influenced by Takarazuka as well. Anyway, the ultimate point is all these things hang together. I should have liked this. It should have been totally my thing. I like the visuals a lot. There are a few of the characters that I really dig. I didn't like this show.
You didn't like the story, basically.
I thought it had a very pedestrian story. I also think it took two of the least interesting characters as its leads. So that didn't really help me. There's a couple of characters who are really great characters, who are interesting, and I felt like after watching them, so the one that most people gushed about was Banana.
Yes.
Who's Nana, and because you find out that Nana is actually a fairly screwed up individual, despite appearances. And
just like Utena.
And that episode gave me the sense of, wait a minute. So we had a character like this, with this kind of story, and instead we're focusing on the Genki girl and the cold bitch. Okay, cool. Not like we haven't done that a few thousand times. Madoka Magica.
Oh, it's
definitely smells like that too.
I can see it,
because you got the kind of cold.
Yeah, okay.
And even down to the spoiler alert, like, I'm trying to prevent you from ending up in this terrible fate type thing.
Okay.
Is the dark-haired girl's shtick.
Okay.
That whole, I'm going to be really cold and do nasty things to you, but not explain why.
I mean, I only saw one episode of this, but, now that you say that, it's like, oh, of course it is. Of course it is.
I think if it had been twice as long, maybe I would have felt differently about it, because then it could have had more time for its characters to breathe.
What's weird is if you asked me what I would change about Utena, I'd be like, I'd cut the length in half. But
I mean, Utena was 39 episodes. If they doubled this, you'd still only have 24.
True.
Because the cast is too big for what it is trying to do, is probably the best way of putting it. We get glimpses of far more interesting characters, and then we shift right back to the ones who aren't that interesting. Having said that, oh god, there's also... So the one who seems to be running the whole thing is this horrible giraffe.
Oh, yes.
Which is, I hate him. Really creepy voice, and always sounds like he's halfway to orgasming over these, teenage girls sword fighting each other. And it's like, dude, fuck you. You're disgusting. Hated him so much. And I remember seeing someone saying, well, because people are like, so why was it a giraffe? And I remember seeing someone saying, well, because clearly if you'd made it a guy, it would have been too creepy to handle. And my reaction was, with a giraffe, it was too creepy to handle. There is one episode that had very good humor, but
Okay.
I can't explain it at all because you have to see it. The visuals are what make it work. So, I really wanted to like this and I didn't.
Oh, well.
And I'll point out too, because I remember at the time there was a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth over translations.
Because they didn't translate the songs.
They didn't originally translate the songs, and
They didn't
then
get the words or even the rights to it. It was weird.
I think it was more simply, look, simulcasting is hard.
Yeah.
It is very difficult to do translations by ear. People like to pretend it isn't. It's really hard.
Honestly, sometimes I look back and wonder how the hell old fansubbers did it.
Well, and there was a lot of upset over the way it had been handled, and the first episode seemingly had a lot of mistakes in terms of translation. And this is a show where you really do need the full you need decent translation because some of the stuff isn't going to make sense if you don't translate it accurately. But this was one of these moments where people were chasing down translators on Twitter and harassing them.
Yeah.
So I don't really have much patience for that. Even if the underlying argument's good, I don't think it's okay to chase people down and harass them over something like this.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I did want to note, I watched this well after it aired. So if someone's going to say, oh, well, you didn't have the right subs, well, I watched it when the subs were all fixed, so that doesn't really hold water.
Do you want to talk about a quite difficult series to talk about? Banana Fish.
Oh.
I was going to say, because we've had talks about this, because I have some pretty strong feelings about this, and you do too, but different types.
Yes.
Banana
Fish, which was... God, where do we even begin on this?
It was originally a 1985 pretty popular, but like critically acclaimed, but also like within certain circles, especially gay circles, one of the most important influential manga of its time. It is a gay gang story, basically. Yeah.
Yep. And it's quite violent at times, and it also, I will point out, ran in a shoujo magazine.
Shoujo magazine, incredibly violent, plenty of drug abuse, but like the kind of drug abuse where it's like, why would anyone ever take this drug? All it does is kill you. But like, what's the benefit of taking it?
And it takes place in New York City.
Yes. 1980s New York City, which, if you've ever seen The Warriors, you will recognize the type of environment that New York was, that they're trying to emulate, certainly.
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely, this is a New York City that hasn't existed in a while. And that points to one of the problems that I find with the adaptation.
Yes.
Which is...
Gorgeous adaptation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Primo material.
All stops, yeah. But I'll get back to that. I'd rather let you keep going.
So the story is about this Japanese guy and a reporter. He's a reporter, isn't he?
He's a photographer, and he works for the Reporter. And
yes.
they've gone on assignment to New York City.
To cover, gang crime, basically.
Yeah.
And they get in touch with this local pretty boy blondie kid who's...
named Ash.
Who's pretty messed up. And he ends up taking a liking to the photographer boy, who's about the same age.
The photographer guy is an adult. Ash is not an adult.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's, I think, 16.
Oh, I thought they were about 18, both of them.
I mean, he's 16, the photographer's like 19 at most.
And it ends up getting him pulled into the world of very violent underground crime, and particularly around this one drug called banana fish, which kills people, including Ash's brother.
Yes, and Ash has been trying to find out what is this thing because his brother died, or his brother's in a vegetative state.
Yes.
And the last thing he ever said was...
banana fish.
Yeah.
And his brother was, what's important here, his brother was a war veteran in the original from the Vietnam War, came back and...
No, it actually... It was the Vietnam War, it's not when he came back.
Oh, it was
still
while
in the
he
field.
was there, yes.
But in the anime version, he was in Afghanistan? No,
Yes.
he was in Iraq. He was in Iraq.
Iraq veteran, yeah. Both of these are very relevant to the fact that they decided to set this one in the modern age, because it means thematically the story doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, so I wouldn't go so far as to say thematically, it's just they took the story and were like, okay, it's going to take place now. So, okay, everybody gets a cell phone, and also he was in the Iraq War, not the Vietnam War. And they don't really do anything else to change it. So it just, me watching it, it was this consistent sense of dissonance because the New York City they're depicting isn't what New York City is. It's just... it just felt off because they're like, oh, look, everything's grungy and crime is a big problem. And that's not to say crime's not a problem there, but, the crime rate in New York City is, like, in the past 10 years has been the lowest it's ever been. A lot of the stuff around, there's so much graffiti in it.
Yeah.
And people would tell you that that's just not the case anymore.
That's exactly because they're depicting the past version of New York. That's a very specific image of New York. Again, I bring up the Warriors because it is the very easy comparison point.
And it's also, I in particular would critique the decision to change the war from having been Vietnam to having been Iraq, because the Vietnam War, the use of drugs was something that was very specifically associated with the Vietnam War. This idea that people were accessing these drugs while in Vietnam and then coming back with those drugs and introducing them into the U.S.
Yep.
Or, maybe not introducing them for the first time to the U.S., but introducing them as something that was, more broadly used. And it doesn't make sense in the context of the Iraq War because we don't associate the Iraq War with drug use.
And it was also the part where there was a sense of like the military and the country have abandoned you.
Yeah.
For competing in the Vietnam War, which is like not saying that the country is. I mean, you can speak better this than me, obviously, but the military, Iraq veterans are treated better than Vietnam veterans, let's say.
Yeah.
By a lot. But then we get to the other part of this show, which is that, honestly, like that in the grand scheme of things is a fairly minor criticism. My bigger
whereas for me it was like I can't keep watching this because it just isn't working.
For me, my bigger problem was maybe this was considered revolutionary by 1980 standards, but the way they depict gay people in this is not okay. It's too much pretty boy gay rape in this.
This show has a lot of sexual assault.
It's full of sexual assault, and it feels like it's supposed to be daring, and it's supposed to be daring. It's like almost like you're getting off on it, and it's like no, it's like Goblin Slayer. It felt wrong watching it, and I did not appreciate that.
I guess my feeling on it is that Banana Fish was... It's impossible for me to explain the feeling of reading Banana Fish in, 2002. I can't. It's impossible for me to do that. Because I'd have to transport a person mentally into that sort of landscape, pop cultural landscape, broader cultural landscape. And I can't do that. It's... I don't know how to put it. It's just... I still like it and think it was an important thing for me to have read. But even when they announced the adaptation, I felt a sense of I don't know. This might not be the best idea. Because it doesn't... It's... What the role it played at that time... It's just the world's moved on. Yeah. It's a totally different media landscape now.
In a post-Fury on Ice age. I mean, I know one is joyous, the other is violent, but yeah.
And that gets back to we're going to change when it takes place. Well, because they did that very superficial, yes, it's 20 whatever, and, cell phones. That, to me, then made it very, there was the visual dissonance going on. And then there was also the, if they had left it set in the 80s, I probably would have been more generous.
I kind of get what you're saying in that.
Because then it would have been more of like a period piece as opposed to...
It should have been more of a period piece. That all said, we're kind of talking out of our asses because this was a big success.
Oh, yeah.
It was...
well, I told you that. So in the past couple of weeks, it was reported that the New York Public Library, they've got a gift shop. And there's a scene that takes place in the library in Banana Fish. And there's a particular chair that someone sits in, and I think they get shot. Well, the gift shop sells replicas of the chair. There's apparently a Japanese tour company that has done package tours for Banana Fish fans, taking them around New York City.
Yeah.
And one of the places they go is the New York Public Library. And, like, sales of this chair's replica they've just totally outpaced what they've ever been before.
It's fascinating. It's what I also like about this, though, is that between this and Parasite, it's because Parasite did pretty well as well. It's kind of showing that there is this audience ready to pick back an old classic manga from the 80s and 90s and give it a good adaptation, a primo adaptation. People will eat it up if it's still a good material.
Yeah, and people ate this up.
Yeah.
I do want to give it some credit, though. I know I've been pretty critical about it as an adaptation. This is one of those examples of where they modernized the character designs, and I think they did a really good job with it. Oh yeah,
they still look pretty retro.
Yeah, they maintain the character of their original, but they're definitely more streamlined and more modern.
It doesn't look old. The show doesn't look old. It's clearly got a character design that you could visually recognize as being, this is from the 80s, but, you know.
Yeah. Also, the first OP is perfect for the show.
It's the most...
It's like the first what if Story of the Year wrote this OP?
It's like the first Death Note opening.
You know, it's more like emo, though.
The first
Screamo.
Oh, yeah.
It's like Story of the Year. It's totally Story of the Year. And I'm willing to bet almost no one who's listening is going to know what the hell I'm talking about. And that's okay.
Anyway.
But there are a bunch of other shows that aired this season.
All right, that's kind of all the big stuff, really.
Well...
Okay, you watch...
I watch Hanebado.
Have some fun talking about Hanebado.
Oh my god. Hanebado is kind of my, perfect not good show. This is a sports show it's about teen girls who are playing badminton. And this got a fairly... not high-handed treatment. That's not the right phrase.
It was very well animated.
Yeah, it got...
They needed to wear better bras, though.
In fact, in the first episode, some of what's going on is, I would say, cinematic in approach to presentation.
It reminds you of, Haikyuu.
And, girls' sports shows never get that treatment. Putting aside things like Chihaya Furu.
Yeah.
It's not something you see much these days. Unfortunately, it's just... Where do I even begin? So it's about... You have a girl who... She used to play badminton. She's like, nope, fuck that stuff now. Because her mom was this huge badminton star and her mom abandoned her. Her mom's a mega asshole, by the way. Just completely unrepentant asshole. Like
the mom from Kill la Kill. Gonna compete for best mom of the year.
Except so Kill la Kill, though, probably looks at that as mom's an asshole. It is not good to be an asshole.
Oh dear.
Does it?
No, it does, yes.
Hanebado does not have that opinion. Hanebado's idea of no, the way that this should go is that the daughter should become an asshole herself.
Gendo Ikari was a good father.
And that's basically the arc of the show is, you start out the character and she's, just kind of at that point
Shinji, play some fucking badminton.
She's at the start of the show, she's just a fairly typical high schooler. She might be a little bit whiny at points, but, she doesn't seem especially bad. And then the people around her are like, oh, wait a minute, you're so-and-so's daughter. And you used to play badminton. You were great. You should join the club. And she doesn't want to join. And she resists it. And then finally she joins it. And she becomes a fucking monster.
Yeah.
Just completely awful human being. And instead of the show, you're watching and you're thinking, okay, the show's trying to make a point about how, having a laser focus on, oh, I'm going to be the best at this sport to the exclusion of anything else, and taking this very, the only thing that could ever possibly be important in my life is being good at badminton. And you think, oh, the show's going to be, the point is, oh, sports can be toxic type thing. This focus on competition among teens is potentially very dangerous and toxic to a person. The sort of personality that develops when all that matters is winning is not good.
Oh, so kind of like ping pong.
But that's not what you get.
No.
The show instead at the very end is like, no, actually it was good that this happened. Because she has a psychotic break, basically. And it's bonkers. You really have to watch it.
It's not good, though. But one about things
there's parts of it that are good.
I do remember looking over his shoulder and finding it very weird that all the other girls, that she was like being an absolute asshole. The other girls are like, oh, I guess she's had a tough day.
Well, I started screen capping that because just the way the rest of the cast is like, oh, well, she's being horrible to us, but, it's probably no big deal.
Yeah.
It's just, you're thinking, but this doesn't make any sense.
What's that girl from, what's that real terrible horror show? The one that no one liked, but you think is good? The one where they all sing about the poor lonely hippopotamus.
Oh, there are other people who liked The Lost Village.
Mayoiga. You know that one girl in the Mayoiga who's like, we must execute them all. And everyone else says like, okay, there's a valid point you bring up, but no one seems to pay attention to the fact that she's completely insane.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Hanebado is.
The Lost Village was a comedy. Hanebado is not meant as a comedy. Yeah, this is, oh man, it's just, the stuff she does, she's so nasty to other people. And at the end of the show, she loses a key match. And you think, oh, finally, she'll become not a shithead. And her mom basically is like, well, you suck because you lost again. And instead of it being like, yeah, well, Mom, you're a horrible human being. Fuck you, it's not all about winning. It's like, nope, it's just, yeah, it's, I will say one thing. So the manga apparently is all from the viewpoint of their coach, who's this 22, 23, 24-year-old guy. And it's him watching it's all his viewpoint. They completely nixed that in the adaptation. Sure. And I thought that was probably the right move. Because it means instead of it being this more I'm a high school badminton coach. Isn't it great that 16-year-old girls want my dick?
Is that what it's about?
So right at the very end of the show, there's this weird bit involving one of the girls where she's a really good athlete, where it's like they shoehorned it back in. Okay. Because she's suddenly blushing like, oh, coach. And you're thinking, wait, what? You seem more into your friend. What's going on here? Hanebado was a weird show.
Would you say it was better than the other girls' sports show about hitting things over a net? Harukana Receive.
I mean, I didn't watch Harukana Receive because...
This one was about beach volleyball.
And no one's wearing actual beach volleyball.
No, they're all wearing cute bikinis. They're all wearing cute bikinis instead of a sports bra.
And it was like, you know what? Stuff this shit.
Anyway.
So I didn't watch that.
What else we got? In the movie section, because we were in the movie section of the podcast.
Are we? We haven't discussed a lot of other TV shows.
I will come back to them.
All right.
Probably the biggest movie here, actually it definitely was
definitely the biggest movie.
I Want to Eat Your Pancreas.
Yep. This didn't get good reviews, though.
So I have actually seen a lot of... Its score on Mal is like a 8.5, 8.6.
That's interesting, because I definitely saw a lot of bad reviews.
I saw a lot of mixed reviews. I saw people who loved it. I think the reason why a lot of people don't like it is because the story is ultimately one of those tearjerker, and that's its kind of only real point. And if you're into that kind of stuff, the sort of Anohanas of the world, this does that and does it effectively.
It's super effective.
But if you are immune to that,
there's not much else.
Yeah.
It's about high school students who fall in love, and then one of them has cancer.
Yeah, of the pancreas. That's why.
And the guy's like, if I ate your pancreas, then you wouldn't have cancer.
Yeah.
Yep.
The novel was quite a big success. Hence why I got the.
Oh yeah, it was huge. It's somewhat reminiscent to me of what got released in the West is Socrates in Love. going back. Oh, God.
That's a pretty old
50, it's more, it's even more than 15 years ago. It's probably, 15, 16 years ago. That was also a novel that it got a manga adaptation. I'm sure it got a live action adaptation. I don't know if it may have gotten an anime movie adaptation, but I don't remember it. This was ages ago. That was another teens fall in love, but one has cancer type shows.
Yeah.
Or, I actually read the novel. It was fine. But what else was there for movies?
Mirai no Mirai. Mirai of the Future.
Yeah.
Which was the... Oh, what's his name? Not Makoto Shinkai. The guy who used to be the bigger name, but now isn't anymore.
Hosoda.
Mamoru Hosoda. Which, I mean, theoretically you say, Mamoru Hosoda movie came out this year. It's like, oh, it must have been the biggest movie. And it's like, no, this is where people stopped caring.
Yeah.
Boy and the Beast was definitely people got less into it, but I felt like a lot of people saw Boy and the Beast and were like, alright, Mirai of the Future, and people just didn't feel like watching it.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been much into Hosoda, so...
I like Summer Wars.
Penguin Highway, which I know you watched. This was actually also adapted from a novel.
It was adapted from a novel by a famous author.
What's his face?
The guy who did Tatami Galaxy, isn't it?
Yes, I think so.
It's forgettable. I don't know. Penguins.
I
actually stopped watching halfway through because I was bored.
Wow. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I think I stopped watching it to go make dinner or something.
And you never got back to it.
And I just couldn't be arsed to come back to it. It's not bad, it's just... Actually, it is bad. But not awful, it's just boring.
Dull.
Yeah.
Boy looks for penguins, also discovers boobs.
And these ones aren't movies, actually. These were...
Yeah, I told you.
But for some reason, they decided to put out a Fooly Cooly sequel.
Yeah, 2, in fact.
I mean, actually, I know why they've made a Fooly Cooly sequel. Because by this stage, 2018, we have now long realized that... I think this is around about the point where the money you make abroad via abroad licensing has surpassed what you make from domestic home releases. And knowing that, I think Adult Swim got involved in this, which is to say...
I'm sure they did.
We want to... The last time anime was big...
Well, they're the ones with the license, so...
Yeah. The last time anime was huge in America, specifically in this case, was when Fooly Cooly was on TV. And we want to recapture that because we're big again. And so let's return to Fooly Cooly. No one wanted this. Is ultimately the problem. Because I gather one of them, was quite good, progressive.
I don't think either one was
one of them was
well
better than the other.
I do think that if they were going to do sequels, that they at least went from the right angle, which is they tried to mix it up a bit by having it focus around girls instead, and didn't do we're going to try to have, bring the boy back and...
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. I didn't like it. I didn't like the original.
Yeah, I was going to say, I do like the original, but it got such bad reviews, I was like, I'm going to return to it someday because it actually has the director of Tanya the Evil on it.
Also, they're all on the Adult Swim website, so it's kind of easy to watch.
I should. Because I might skip the one that got the less good reviews and watch the other one.
I might watch them both someday. We'll see. There's so much anime out there.
Yeah.
Speaking of so much anime out there, well, there's a bunch of other things. There's Muyo and Roji's case files, or the case files of Muyo and Roji. I don't remember what they released under. This was an odd one in that it got released very late in the season, was when it started. It's adapted from a shonen property that, it's basically spirit busting, but as casework, mysteries. Unfortunately, the leads are horrible, so I didn't watch it for very long, even though it's my kind of material. There was Sirius the Jaeger, which almost no one ended up watching because
that's what Sirius is.
It got licensed by Netflix.
Oh yeah.
And it didn't get posted until much later. I've seen I don't remember 4 or 5, 6 episodes of this. It's not very good. It's a werewolves versus vampires type tale. It also has uncomfortable usage of anti-Semitic tropes and imagery.
Oh, gosh.
That was part of why I stopped watching it, because the vampires in it are some of the ways in which they're depicted echo anti-Semitic, European anti-Semitic tropes. So I was like, I'm good. No more of this, thanks. I also saw a few episodes of Island, which was kind of bizarre to watch in 2019.
Isn't it like
2018.
Isn't it like a kind of like old school VN?
Well, it's basically like, what if Keanu happened again, except way pervier? So it was just...
So more like Shuffle. The Shuffle era.
Ish.
Yeah.
Shuffle's characters at least looked like they were, for the most part, in high school.
Okay.
These characters, like, I'm 18. You're like, no, you're not. You're 5. And it was really weird watching this in 2018 because you're just sitting there thinking, but this is so retro. How could this possibly exist? So I dropped that.
We've got How Not to Summon a Demon Lord.
Which neither of us watched.
But I wanted to bring it up purely because
it did very well.
It did very well, but it was one of the first like slavery fetish apologia. Apologia, that's the word I'm looking for. Slavery fetish apologia, which was like, the time was like, that's just some weird fetish or whatever. But then
now it's taken over.
Now it's taking over, and that's uncomfortable. And I'm not going to blame the show because it was already getting popular within the light novel sphere before here. But boy,
this is, again, I will say, if I'd known that from the Emoto craze we would move on to the slavery craze, I would have said, you know what, give me about another 250 years of Emotos, please. So another one we watched a little bit of was Angle Moy.
I meant to go back to it, but then didn't.
Wasn't this on Amazon?
No, it was a Crunchyroll thing.
Was it?
Yes, it was.
Are you sure?
It was just not very... It was like, it's a historical piece. I mean, even if...
It is centered around... So, it's centered around the attempted Mongolian invasion of Japan, which failed.
1000, maybe even
earlier. I think
earlier.
it's the 1300s,
okay,
isn't it?
1300s.
Whatever. We're not Japanese history experts. Look, if it didn't happen between 1914 and 1922, I don't give a shit.
The Mongols tried to invade Japan and failed. But this was a very interesting war because some of the early guns were invented. Things like Japan had never seen horseback riding before. There was like all sorts of weird... it's actually a weirdly fascinating historical war. Like, go Wikipedia at some time. Anime doesn't really do it justice. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just, they also didn't really have enough time in the show. So something we didn't watch but did decently at the time was Planet With, which is apparently by the same author as did Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer.
Yes.
Which was quite popular, and I think people are surprised it never got an anime, but...
the story behind... So Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer, I remember when I was getting into anime around 2007, 2008, Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer was considered by people who like read online manga as like the thing.
Yeah.
It was... I felt like everyone was recommending it, and eventually I went and read it, and I genuinely thought I'd picked up the wrong manga. Because it's the most generic ass bullshit. I actively, I wouldn't say hate, I am just so baffled by how people consider this pile of generic garbage to be... Sorry, I'm being really critical. Lucifer and Biscuit, I don't get it. I just don't get it. And Planet With came out and like did reasonably well in Japan, but not very many people watched in the West at all. But like there's a handful... Like this made Crunchyroll just put out a top 100 anime of the decade. And they put Planet With on it.
A lot of people watched it, and a lot of people enjoyed it.
I think a lot is overestimating it, though.
I mean, what are we... but what's the comparison?
I don't know, Grand Blue sells at work, Banana Fish. Maybe more people watch it than Chio School Road, I guess.
I think definitely more people watch it than Chio School Road. Or I would say something like Review Starlight.
I don't know, I don't get it. I don't just straight up don't get it, but whatever.
So, unfortunately, this is written down without tonal marks, so I'm going to screw up the pronunciation. But So, there's this massively popular Chinese BL novel,
Yes.
which was one of the translations into English of the title is Master of Demonic Cultivation. Don't laugh.
Sorry. Just when you describe it, it's like, yeah, it's a BL title. Demonic Cultivation.
This thing is absolutely massive in China.
Yes.
The novels have been huge. It's gotten a live action adaptation. It's gotten, it's not manhua in Donghua adaptation, which is Chinese manga. It's gotten, this was the animated adaptation.
Animated in China, for the record.
There is, it's had all sorts of crossover stuff with other product type things. You can get like perfumes that are branded with characters and jewelry. And this thing is huge.
Yeah, I was reading about it. It sounds like they've got one of the most rabid fan bases of any property in China.
World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they're not really rabid. Yeah, but why do we call certain fan bases rabid and not others?
I think it's the level of...
Anyway, it's huge. The live-action version was released in the West as The Untamed, or released outside of China is the better way to put it, as The Untamed. So yes, the Master of Demonic Cultivation, again...
Mao Dao Zushi.
No, oh god. I can't, there's no tonal marks, so I'm not going to pronounce it because I'd embarrass myself. I have seen the first 4 or 5 episodes of the animation. Oh no, Donghua might be Chinese animation. I don't watch much of this.
I thought it was manhua.
No. Manhua that's manga. Donghua is animation.
Okay.
I don't watch much Chinese animation. This might be pretty obvious at this point after such a conversation. It's pretty decent. I think issues with it definitely stem from the fact that the original novel is like 1,200 pages long.
Yeah.
And I think this got 15 episodes in the first season. So I definitely was watching it and thinking, wait, but how did we go from point A to point B?
Yeah.
And if I'd been intimately familiar with the franchise, I'm sure I wouldn't have had that question. But I would also say the character designs are similar enough that I did at points have some difficulty keeping track of who was who. This is not... You know how anime will come up with like really elaborate hairstyles or, funky eye colors to help differentiate between characters?
I mean, this is a historical drama.
Yes.
So they all wear kind of the same outfit. It's 3 Kingdoms, isn't it?
No. I mean, in the sense that...
It's from that era, isn't it?
Ish? No.
Okay.
It's more like that kind of era, but its own thing, if that makes sense. Like the trappings of that era, in terms of like some of the clothing styles and the ways in which the society is structured without being 3 kingdoms.
Okay.
It takes place in this world where you have all these clans that have, they use magic.
Oh, so it's fantasy. Okay, yes.
Yes.
I thought it was historical for some reason. Yeah, okay.
Well,
it's,
in the sense that it takes place in a past type world.
Game of Thrones, medieval fantasy, except it's Chinese version of medieval.
There is not that much rape.
Okay. Chinese version of medieval fantasy.
I guess that's the best way of putting it.
Okay.
Anyway, it's alright. I did have, while watching it, had the sense of, gee, I wish someone would license the actual novel. But definitely on the better end of the spectrum for Chinese animation. I don't want to say TV because it didn't air on TV, but serial animation type thing. Because a lot of the Chinese animation to date has not been great. The serialized type.
I've tried a few of them. I mean, this sounds like the one that's been far and away the most popular. But I've tried some other stuff, and I thought
if you go on Mal, it's like the number 3 most popular anime at the moment. Or it's in the top 10.
It's not popular, but it's got like it's an absolutely stupidly high score, like
8.91, I think.
Something stupid like that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's really high up on Mal, which never happens with Chinese productions. I'm not saying that... the Chinese industry for this kind of content is still relatively recent, so it's not surprising that it is not as... It's not quite up to the standards of what we expect as people who've been watching Japanese animation for the past however many years. It's a still fairly nascent industry. But, yes.
I think the animation by now has actually, has caught up and looks fine.
For the most part, yeah.
From the more recent stuff I've seen. I saw one that was about, some, pro gamer, and I didn't think it was very good. But, I was looking, it's oh, well, it's animated perfectly fine.
Yeah, this has a good OP, as I recall. One thing I will say, though, because of the nature of censorship in China, every adaptation of this from the novel has cut down or entirely cut out the queer content. Which is sort of, what's...
Why you do this, China?
And as someone who I remember watching that happen with anime over time, and... I just have no patience for that at this point.
Yeah.
So I've watched a bit of it, but I do have the sense of, why am I even bothering? I should just try to get someone to license the actual novel. Yeah. Anyway, this thing's huge. It's one of those things you've never heard of, but there's probably 2 million people who are nuts about it.
I have seen it shortened to MDZS before. I have seen that.
Yeah, you'd think I'd know how to pronounce it after watching it, but it's listed as Master of Demonic Cultivation or as the Untamed in most places, so...
Anyway.
Yeah.
I wanted to cover, just before we finish off, on 2 long-running properties that were relevant this season. One is, is very short, is Attack on Titan Season 3 aired. And this season was incredible. It was a split core, but... some of the absolute highlights of the entire franchise occurred during Season 3. From Your One Becomes Queen to the big creepy Titan that pulled itself along the floor and had no face. Or, the one where it's oh, wow, look, a gay romance that's, respectful and stuff. And I think this had come after me. I was starting to get a little bit burnt on My Hero Academia. And then this season... oh, dear.
Sorry.
And this season of Attack on Titan came out, and it was yes, this shit's great. This should have been the biggest anime of the decade. Fuck your modern-ish, your new fangled. I actually like My Hero Academia, but I just bitch about it a lot. This season was incredible, and then the part 2 had the here's what the world really is, and then had the Beast Titan. This season of Attack on Titan is I gave it a 10 on Mal. It's one of my favorite anime of the decade. It was incredible. And I think it also just kind of a nice cap up on, it was ultimately the most important anime of this decade. If I feel like this decade can be described as being when anime blew up in the West, it blew up around the world online streaming. And that's...
what a difference that made.
And Attack on Titan was the catalyst for it. It's, people have mocked that idea before, but I don't think we would be here without it. Other stuff built in it, One Punch Man.
We'd be here.
Yes.
But we'd probably still be in a much less crowded field.
Anime is never more popular right now than it ever has been. And Attack on Titan was the catalyst for it. It's not the reason, but it was the catalyst.
It brought a lot. It brought a lot of fresh blood into fandom.
Yeah. And the other one I wanted to cover, this one's slightly weird, but is Gintama. The final season aired this season, which is final for what they've got now. They put out a promo material recently, which was well, the author kept writing, so I guess we'll make more, I think.
Didn't the manga actually end?
It was supposed to end, but then the author just kept writing more.
Okay.
But that's what he does all the time.
I mean, if it sells.
They've been threatening to end it for 6 years, and then they go lol, we made more. That's been Gintama for 5-6 years now. Gintama has, I don't think it's huge.
I'd say it's more steady.
It's steady.
Is how I would describe
it's steady, and it has a fan base. It has a fan base who think it's the hottest shit ever.
I think it's useful to consider that the Gintama manga stopped being published in the West.
Yes.
Because it was not selling well enough.
because I like this, and it's weird to think on, because it didn't have a particularly flashy start way back in 2006 was when it first came out. But it kind of gathered, because a lot of the early episodes are a bit weak, but it kind of picks up steam. I've watched 100 episodes of Gintama, by the way, which I just looked up. There's like 350 episodes of Gintama have aired altogether, so I'm practically a casual. I can't get back.
Gintama reminds me of Sergeant Frog.
Yes, that's. I think it's more popular than Sergeant Frog was, but well, actually, I don't know.
Because that was another one where, at least in the West, I had a sense of, this is not huge, but the people who watch it or read it really love it, and they have consumed the entire thing. Sergeant Frog, I think, if I'm not mistaken, also had a, its release history in the West wasn't great because people weren't buying it.
Yeah. Gintama is one of the most weirdly fascinating settings. It's like, what's the name? Shokugawa?
What?
Shogunate? The era
Tokugawa,
thank you. The Tokugawa era with the, Shinsengumi and all that, except aliens have invaded. And then it's like,
yes, the Choshu. They were from Mars.
Well, it's supposed to be like reminiscent of the end of the samurai era, but the end of the samurai was in part brought apart by aliens invading. And the main character is one of those ex-samurai who is now just forced to do odd jobs.
It occurs to me that I wonder if at some level aliens invading was the opening up of Japan to the outside.
Oh, I could definitely see that. The end of the
Don't
old
the
culture.
black ships make some appearance in it?
Oh, I think so. Oh, it's been so long since I've seen Gintama as a problem.
No, I haven't seen it, but I recall seeing something to do with black ships in Gintama.
Oh, maybe
the black ships was the forcing open of Japan.
Yes.
So
the Portuguese.
I mean, you could see those as they were not Portuguese. The Portuguese were much earlier
than that. Yes, it was American, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry.
Admiral Perry.
Yeah.
Matthew, I think.
So Gintama is a fascinating show. And there are it doesn't air for this long without having some truly, truly inspired gags. One of my favorite ones that I saw was where it's like 4 characters all on toilets and none of them have toilet paper and they're trying to find out how they're all going to wipe their butts.
Brush their teeth.
And it is amazing. One of them is like pretending is brushing some sandpaper against the wall so everyone thinks that he's so he's wiping his butt, but they don't want to ask him because it sounds awful. The show is inspired. It is legitimately really funny. I've seen 100 episodes. I've seen more than I need. I actually once heard Gintama being referred to as like one of the big 3 shonens, and the person said like Naruto, One Piece, and Gintama, and I thought like, man, poor Bleach.
Wow, Bleach is like,
yeah,
you fucking wish.
It was like 2016, I think I heard that, and that should be it. I have an idea for the ending song.
Sure.
Do you remember dancing away every single time we would play the summer jam that was the Grand Blue Dreaming opening?
If you can find it.
Alright.
Grand Blue! That was on Amazon.
It was, yes. We watched it on Amazon, I remember that.
Yeah, anyway.